welcome everybody. February meeting of the Sheridan Community School Board of Trustees. We have a quorum, so let's do the pledge.
All right.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start with Student of the Month.
Mrs. Roberts? Yeah, good. I think we only have one this week, so everybody else has activities.
Clara was nervous, so I said, don't be nervous, I'll stand right here. Good evening, everybody. This is Clara Cripe. She is a first grader in Mrs. Doherty's room, and I'm going to share all the wonderful things that her teacher told us. Are you ready? Okay. What does she like about school? She likes to see her whole class every day. What would she change about school? Absolutely nothing. You love school. Gonna back up just a second. I need to introduce Alexandra and Kyle Cripe and Ashton. They're with us here this evening, so thank you for coming tonight. Her teacher nominated her because she said, Clara always does the right thing, and she really lives by her 6 B's. Can I put you on the spot? Can you tell them what the 6 B's are? I'll help you. What are they? Be respectful, be responsible, be a peacemaker, be safe, and be kind. Good job. She does an excellent job. Clara is a great role model for her classmates. She's kind to everyone she meets and helps create a friendly and welcoming atmosphere in our classroom. On top of that, Clara really puts forth all the effort in her schoolwork. She is dedicated and always aims to do her best, which shows how much she cares about learning. Her teacher also said that Clara truly deserves to be recognized as Student of the Month for all the amazing things she does each and every day. She's a fantastic student, and most importantly, she's a great friend to everyone. Some of the things she likes to do, art. Art 24/7, right? You love art. I love this answer. What does she want to be when she grows up? She wants to be a zookeeper. And what makes her feel proud? She is proud of her artwork. Something she's thankful for, her dog and her fish. And what kind of fish is it? Beta. It's a beta. You will have to explain all this later, right? Close in. Something that she does better than most people, she likes to make a tiger with her dad and her brother. I assume that's drawings? Yeah. Cool. And her idea of her perfect day, buy stuff with her own money. Mom and dad like that, right? And she would buy, I had to get clarification on this, an axolotl. Everybody know what that is? Yep. Okay. And she would go to Grammy and Grampy's house. So that would be a perfect day for her. Her favorite person, Mom, close your ears, is Dad. And the reason she loves Dad so much is that he can use his right hand and his left hand at the same time. Is that right? This is Miss Clara Cripe, and she is our awesome first grade Student of the Month.
Clara, do you play video games?
Yes.
Do you play Minecraft? No. Okay. That's where the axolotl was from. You're welcome.
Nope. Nope, Dad, you're gone.
Claire, would you like to sign too? There you go.
It's like my kid.
Awesome. There you go. Stand right there. Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Mr. Davis, both yours are busy tonight, right? That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay. So right now we'll take a quick pause. If anyone wants to leave the room.
So basically just be done.
Okay. All right. We'll move to item 4 then. Agenda revisions.
None tonight, sir.
Okay. Sheridan Showcase.
Sure. Mrs. Love's going to give a quick overview. Normally, we didn't have to do this last year because we didn't adopt any new textbooks. But part of Indiana law is our curriculum director, Miss Love, needs to do kind of a quick overview on what we're doing in terms of a curriculum adoption for this year. So, Valerie, turn it over to you.
So specifically, this is going to be our K-5. So we're looking at Sheridan Elementary, and the teachers, as soon as I came on board last January, we started the conversation of what they need in the English language arts world. And so we've spent the last year kind of going through and doing a needs assessment, seeing what they have, what they like and they don't like. Oh, I forgot this was up here. I'll come back to that. There we go. So the top row there, our first steps after we did our needs assessment was really looking at what they currently had and what was missing from the current curriculum. Looking at, all the varieties that we have at the elementary and what all the different teachers needed. We did have an established committee. We started in August. As we moved through the process, we realized there were tons of teachers that wanted to be involved, even if they weren't on the committee. So as we started bringing in the different textbook companies, we had open meetings, so anyone that wanted to come at the elementary, whether they were on the committee or not, could join. And many of those were in person, but there was also some virtual Zooms, so we usually had a really good representation of our staff. So that's how we spent kind of August, September, October. We came together in December because we wanted to start piloting. So the state released The state released 5 curriculums that we could look at. So Amplify, theirs is called CKLA at the top there. Great Minds has what's called Wit and Wisdom, Foundations, and Geodes. McGraw-Hill has Open Court, and McGraw-Hill also has Wonders. Wonders is what was adopted last rotation. And then Savas has what's called My View Literacy. The committee did look at all 5 of these to start. The only one in the beginning that our teachers felt like didn't fit the needs of our community and didn't fit our kindergarten kind of first grade structure with literacy was the Great Minds. So Great Minds, you actually would adopt Wit and Wisdom and Foundations or Geodes, which leads to over 120 minutes of instruction a day for kindergarten and first grade in English language arts alone. So it's a very heavy lift. We have those samples, we have those materials, anyone's welcome to look at them, but we really focused on the other 4 because after just kind of looking at them, we knew they fit what our teachers need in our community. So teachers have spent the last month here, January, moving into February, piloting. So we asked each grade to pick a resource and to use it in their classroom with the idea that a curriculum is how you start a class, your main instruction, and then also how you assess, whether it's a summative at the end or a formative at the end of the lesson. So our teachers are all kind of wrapping that up right now. And then the next big part, and why I'm here tonight, is we need parent and community feedback before we head into our decision making. So they're all here tonight, all 4 of them. We ask that anyone that wants to can explore the different resources. We have a parent feedback form. It's a QR code, and you can do it on your phone with the idea that you have the opportunity to see anything that we're going to put in front of our students. These resources are just, I would say, about half of what the kids actually see. The companies don't ever give us every single piece, but they have supplied some multi-language learners, some interventions for special ed students. So there's a lot over there. You want to go through and dive into it. Timeline, today kind of kicks off our parent and community feedback. We'll present to Blackhawk ambassadors on Wednesday, and then they'll be available to families through the end of next week. And then if we feel like we haven't gotten enough feedback, we'll start reaching out to parents, previous Blackhawk ambassadors, to make sure we have enough people providing feedback. So, the The goal of the teachers is to make a recommendation to the board in March. So this month we'll really be gathering all the feedback from the teachers and from the community to bring hopefully a recommendation in March. If not, we have enough time, we would bring it then in April, with the goal being to get our resources as early as possible so that our teachers can start planning for next year.
Is that material gonna be elementary school for the parents that are over there, so I can look at it?
Yes, so it's here tonight because
Yes.
we're here. It's going to be here for Black Hawk Ambassadors, and then it's all going to go to the elementary midday Wednesday.
Where's it gonna be at?
It is in the media center.
Media center.
Yep, so it's
Okay.
set up in the media center.
And any parent can go in there and look at it whenever they want to?
If they're allowed in the building, the
Okay,
kids are in
all
there.
right.
Yeah. Otherwise, come before hours. But
Is
yes.
there a way to make it available online as well for parents to review?
So I can give codes for some of the manufacturers. They have like a parent link to explore it and be able to go on and read some stories. I'll say it's a sampling usually.
Okay.
It's not everything, but there is a like parent link to many of them.
It'd be great for the website. As much transparency as can on curriculum, if we could get it on there, I think that'd be ideal.
It's also as important for us too to remember, we don't get the same amount of funding we used to get too. And now that we do it that way, to go through all this, the more input, the better. So,
You may have said this, but how many pilots do you have going?
So all 6 grades,
Okay.
so kindergarten through 5th
Okay.
grade, are doing at least one. A few grades that kind of had 2 favorites, they are trying 2 different ones.
Okay.
So, but every grade is trying something.
Now, I think a couple of years ago, I came and looked at some of the math. where- And that was enjoyable to see how the teachers were responding to the different types of curriculum. So parents that are in here or online, go check it out. It's worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to item 6, public comment. We'll open the floor.
we don't have anybody signed up tonight unless there's some, Leslie, there's nobody on.
Nope,
Okay.
no public comment.
Got it.
Perfect. All right, well, then we'll move to the consent agenda.
As you look through the consent agenda tonight, Sarah, I would point out a couple things. As you get ready to go to it, one, I do want to recognize the Goods, who made a $250 donation to our track team. The Goods are, no pun intended, really good to us. As you know, they donate to about every season, so we appreciate all that they do. Also, you'll see tonight in resignations, Caitlin Wilder is leaving us. She has been incredible. You know, I've known her since my days at my last school. She's actually just going to go home to be closer to family, and I would definitely want to recognize Jake Jessup. Jake's done a wonderful job for us. Jake has a great opportunity. He's been up front on every bit of this. So he will definitely be missed. He'll leave us here in a couple weeks as he starts his new adventure. I also, one other thing, if I will point out too, because it's personnel, if you will, Jamie Galloway is here tonight. We actually approved her last month, but she was unable to be here. So I did want to make sure she got a chance. And I will say that of all the people I've ever had, we always say we want you to jump on board the first day. She's been incredible. And I know she's getting a lot of props and accolades from the faculty and even the students. But she is, since day one, she was meeting with kids and doing what we needed her to do. So a lot of credit to Jamie. She's done a wonderful job.
Glad
Do
to have you.
you want to say anything, or just say hello?
Yeah, we're just really happy to be here. We live on the far north side of Lebanon, so we're like super far from Lebo schools, and it's almost just as easy to come here. So it was just a really good transition for our family. And as you can see, we've got our hands full, and we've got cattle, so we're happy to have some ag connections with some of the staff here too. And we're just excited to be here.
It was the first time in my career that she came straight to my office in the morning. It was like, I'm sorry, I'm running a little late. I had to birth a cow this morning. And I was like, okay, first of all, that's awesome. So she was excused for sure.
And we have 2 future Blackhawks maybe here.
Yeah, we're
right
hoping
here?
he'll
Okay.
start kindergarten next year, and then
Alright.
right behind him. So
Perfect.
You guys over in Clinton Township then, or?
we're technically in Western Boone.
Got it, okay. Okay. I'm on the Boone County side, so
Oh.
love seeing the Boone County.
Yep.
Fantastic.
If you don't mind us, we will sneak out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
was very nice to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for coming.
Thank you for
You're
coming.
welcome to, Jim. You've already been approved. So.
All right.
I had a question on the formatting on there. I know we were doing a little different format, but you have, looks like part-time, and then there's a dollar amount and then another amount after that with H/W. I don't understand what that
Hours
is.
per week.
Hours per week, okay. Okay, got you. Got it. Replacing, okay. Cool. All right, that makes sense.
And that format is only for tonight.
Okay.
Kim and Robin already have a different format moving forward. We just wanted to make sure we got it on there for this evening.
Check.
Anybody else?
Should I abstain because of Ashton Brunel?
It's a part-time classified. That would be your call, ma'am. I don't
If
think
it
it.
doesn't matter, I won't, but if you want me to, I will.
If you don't mind, I'm actually going to defer to Kim to your left a little bit from your expertise in the past because it's a part-time hourly. Does she need to abstain, do you think?
She doesn't need to abstain, it would
Okay.
just be if
Okay.
you want to.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Well then, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, I have a motion,
Second.
second. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All those abstaining? All right, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you both. And thank you, everybody else.
Okay, item 8, old business. Looks like we have no old business. New business, item 9.1, the 26-27 school year calendar. So real quick, for the calendar, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Hewitt, to Kim, also to Valerie as well. You were slightly involved, or at least part of the discussion, right? And all those that were associated with it. I don't have an exhaustive list of names, but there were plenty, teachers, faculty, members of the community too. So this process, we do right around this almost springtime every year. So do we have any discussion for the calendar? Any questions?
I have one quick question. The August 31st PD Day, it says tentative. Why is that tentative, I guess, is my only question.
I believe it's tentative, and anybody else that wants to chime in can. It's new, and we're working through what that PD actually will look like
Okay.
next year. So we have our 2 that we typically have every year. This is a new PD day, and we really were gonna try to utilize that beginning of the year time to make sure we have everybody on board with new curriculum and changes to the district. And I think Valerie could probably elaborate just a little bit more about that time of
That's
year
great.
and just making sure we've got all staff set and ready for the rest of the school year. So we do as much as we can before school starts, but there's always some circling back and making sure that we've hit all the key points.
Some of
So-
that comes down to, sir, it'll have to do with the waiver, the next topic too, on whether or not we use async or how we do moving forward. The other part would be the reason of doing it early as well, and give Mr. Hewitt and our teachers credit too. What we've realized is we get going and we ask teachers to do Canvas and all this other stuff, and you start rocking, and you really need a day to basically allow, and also that is also a great day. We can teach new teachers all we want to teach until they get in the classroom and start going. So it's also a good day to regroup with them is what we've tried.
Second, what Dave's saying, I think you got a great example tonight, and you're looking at a K-5 DLA adoption. So you don't have a moment you can discuss it in theory, you can do voluntary summer trainings, you can have staff prep that all summer long on their own until you put it in front of kids and people can kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work, that ability to have those discussions. And also, again, as we continue to roll over staff, just, you can do as many early days you want before school. Here's your email, here's your benefits. You need some of that time to kind of touch base with your new staff to make sure they have their feet under them before you get too deep into the school year.
I would like to comment to thank the committee and point out that counting to 180 was the hardest job I ever had. I really appreciate that you're not starting kids on a Monday, that they have a half week to start and, get in the swing of things before they do anything. And Dave, you said you would elaborate a little bit more about the synchronous and asynchronous days?
Yes,
And how you want to use them?
I did not know though. So the game plan would be if, and that's part of the next part.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we're not a big fan of doing synchronous days, and I think that our teachers would 100% agree. If we use the waiver, which is the next topic on there tonight, if we utilize that, the idea would be to build in the async day, use those as our days as needed. We did add President's Day back in as a flex day. That was one of the adjustments. So that's the goal tonight, ma'am, is to be able to, because frankly, async days are much easier in our families than trying to get everybody logged on. And Matthew's done a great job. I can't give him enough credit of working with our teachers at all levels the last couple weeks of, I mean, that's why we're kind of doing some of this too. The fact I know our elementary teachers in middle school, honestly, would prefer not or synchronous ever. It's a little different for high school. I mean, it is for them, but that's what we're working on, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And another follow-up question, I apologize. So that waiver, I'm maybe jumping ahead, but that waiver, is my understanding correct that would, if we do that, that would replace the late start Wednesdays?
No,
Did I
sir,
understand
not
that right?
necessarily. So the part of the reason that's on there too, I tell you what, I get what you're saying too. Let's, on the
Yep.
next topic, I
I
know
got
that those two have worked extensively on that.
Perfect.
But that is actually one thing, sir, we haven't resolved yet. You know, I kind of mentioned in a memo this month that we need to evaluate our whole day,
Yeah.
like how we do the day.
Yeah.
Right now, and I know Mr. Davis and Mr. Davis know this well, we drop off our middle school kids 20 minutes before we go to class. Actually, on some days, it's almost
Okay,
35
right.
minutes before class. We're actually in the middle of all of that
Right.
right now, sir.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer to Wednesdays yet. And to be fair, too, the Wednesdays will have parent involvement. We'll have a lot of people involved on how we do that, too.
Understood. Okay.
So I have a comment. Of course, you're aware, and John saw the policy as well, that I'm working on a policy I'd like to bring to the board next month on how we create that calendar. So I don't understand the reason why we need to vote the calendar this month when I'd like to bring a policy in March to address that. I don't see a reason for it. Why don't we delay until we see the appetite of the board for the new policy?
So I don't disagree with you, but I'll just say, you know, I think moving forward with the calendar tonight, then addressing the policy, and if we need to adjust afterwards, we have a baseline or an approved calendar, and then we can kind of shift gears if we need to, based on however that policy shakes out.
Well, but it addresses the e-learning thing, and we're talking about the e-learning waiver. And, you know, our goal is, my goal, or at least people I talk to in the goal too in the community is, we want to get away from e-learning. We want as much time in front of the students as we can with our trained faculty and staff. So we're adding more e-learning time. We're asking for a waiver, and that waiver is going to be used for weather-related items, I'm assuming, because we have 3, which asynchronous is you just log in when you can, right? And synchronous for the public is we're on the
When you're
computer the
online
whole time
together,
with them.
yes.
So like today was an asynchronous day where I think it took students, you know, maybe an hour to get their work done today, but they were to get that done, right? So the goal would be to get away from that because like our elementary students, I don't think they're getting anything out of it. We're trying to help kids learn to read. We can't do that with e-learning days. It worries me that we're going the wrong way. And that's my concern with the calendar. I think we're headed the wrong direction. I want more in-person learning for our young students. For high school, it's not bad. I get it. You need to learn how to do it. But for the kids who are trying to teach how to learn, do math, things along that line, I mean, I don't think we're headed the right direction. And, I mean, what was our iLearn score last year? Or iRead scores? We're 82% below the state average. And they're below what the standard for the state is. I want them in front of the students. I want students in the classroom. And that's all I'm striving for. And that's why I asked that we look at the policy for makeup days first before we install a waiver or even the new calendar. Those are my thoughts.
Dan, I appreciate your thoughts. I would like to point out too, when you're talking about having the teachers in front of the students, they do need an opportunity for professional development so that they can be the best that they can be. So I don't want that to be moved to the wayside in favor of just having kind of kids in seats to be there. So I think it's a bigger issue.
Well, I don't disagree, we want professional development. I have professional development on my side. You know, we want teachers to have professional development, but I just don't like taking time away from the students when they could be in front of those teachers. I mean, I feel like there's a way we can work around these days in order to get those PD days in. I mean, look at August 3rd. I mean, a first day in could be a PD day, or, I mean, there's got to be a different way to figure this out than what we have in front of us today. This is the 26, 27 calendar. We have time to work through it. It's no rush. If we looked at the calendar again in April or May, it's not a big deal. If we decide, hey, we can't find a way around that, then we install a new calendar. But I don't think installing the calendar now and then going back and readdressing it is the right answer. I think that we need to work together to make it right the first time.
And I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but let me put it this way. I don't think we can change the calendar at any time. So I think what you're saying is true at the same time, that if it is adopted tonight, we can always still address it. It is another 2 school years away. So, but appreciate your comments. So.
I want to ask this question too on the flex days. You added, so is your intention to use flex days for in-person learning or use asynchronous days to make up snow days? What's your goal?
I would say that you wait till the next topic, sir, with respect, and let them do their presentation on it, because that's what they've been working through. To be fair with them, that is what we have a curriculum director and the teachers working on. You know, and that, to me, that's 2 different topics of what you're addressing. The other thing I would throw out on this calendar, too, that's important, as you've mentioned, we've had some people already ask, and I know you've been asked that, too, as some of them set their dates off that far in advance. This calendar, the one thing different about it than all others, this is a 7-year rollover. And that means this 7-year rollover, this is when our teachers realized we go 3 weeks without a paycheck this year. And we have always tried to get that out as early as possible on this, because it's every 7 years we have an extra year in the calendar, or an extra week in the calendar. And I know that's what, with Matthew and Kim, they've been working on.
So it's not an extra payday, it's an extra...
It's an extra week. They go 3 weeks to start this year. Normally you go 2.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think they did opposite way, or they added a day.
Yeah.
Like March has those 5 weeks in it, kind of messes everything up. Is that right?
No, this is, every 7 years you end up with an extra, you get an extra pay. So to stop that, every teacher knows that those who have been teaching for a long time realize on the 7th year, you have an extra week where you don't get paid. And I do know that Kim have been asked that already on when's that coming up. Because what it really affects is our, especially our hourly people, our all-year salary people, but they have to know it's 3 weeks without a paycheck. So that date comes up a lot. So this calendar happens to be that one where we roll over.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion? All right, I will look for a motion to approve item 9.1, the 26-27 school year calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second.
I'd like to add a subsidiary motion. I'd like to move to refer this to committee with 2 board members, including Mr. Henney, Mrs. Zachary, the superintendent, and 2 additional members.
Okay, we have a supplemental motion. Do we have a second to that?
Could you provide some more information
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
what you're thinking?
I don't think this calendar is ready for approval, so I'd like to refer it back to a committee of 2 board members, the superintendent, and 2 members chosen by the president.
Okay, do we have a second?
I guess it does.
Okay. All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote on item 9.1. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Any abstain? Okay, motion carries 4-1. Dave, item 9.2 is the e-learning waiver.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Mrs. Love and Mr. Hewitt. I don't know if they want to answer questions or if they want to talk about what the game plan here is, but I'm going to turn it over to the 2 of them.
So Mr. Hewitt and I worked together and really focused on what our teachers need. So I provided kind of my written synopsis because I think it's important to digest ahead of time. I want students in the classroom. I want students that have the best teacher they can in front of them when they're in
think Ms. Zachary hit the nail on the head. Is it's not just the ability of putting students in front of adults and calling the job done. Students learn the most from teachers who have the necessary skills and training to be successful in order to help those students learn and grow. And the only way that we can continue to develop and push our personnel and to develop them is to provide those opportunities for professional development. And beyond individual professional development, as Ms. Love commented on, is that ability to collaborate. I don't think anyone is advocating in the usage of the additional waiver days would be to diminish time between faculty and students. It's to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the time that we do have. And so as a way of thinking of it is to say, if one PD day increases faculty effectiveness by 1%, and one PD day is 1/180th of the calendar, that is a net gain for us in our effectiveness. I don't think that can be undersold. I think there's also a secondary side that, fortunately for the board members here, you haven't went through this yet, but the waivers end up becoming important. And I can respect that there are community members who are frustrated by e-learning days. But I can also say, as someone who's been part of the calendar committee for 21 years now, 11 years ago, the winter of 2013 and 2014, we missed 12 days of school. We had extended days to try to recapture 2 days. We had classes that went into June. If you would like to see a very angry community have no plan in place for what to do when you get a crazy winter. I think there's a double-edged sword here. Just because you sign the waiver doesn't mean you're committing to using those days. I also think it's important as well from the standpoint of putting the calendar out early. This is something that we've seen an increase of within our schools, is the number of families that plan extended vacations or leaves that correspond at the beginning and end of semesters. And so if we don't have some of that ability to recapture lost time, in many cases that time will continue to be lost. And so I think the waiver gives you the flexibility with the calendar as it stands to increase staff effectiveness and to be able to provide and adapt for community needs when you do get those once every 10 to 15 years. For the board members that have been involved in education a long time, you got to plan for the worst and be happy when you get the best. And to be honest, that's what the calendar committee did. I think the other lesson you learn from doing calendars year over year is you are never going to make a calendar that meets the absolute ideal of every single member. And I think what we work with is basic economic principle. Time is a scarce resource. Time is a scarce resource, and we have to have time to be able to educate, elevate, and develop our staff in the same way that we have to have that time to educate, elevate, and develop our students. And at some points we have to make trade-offs simply because we are limited in the number of days and the amount of time that we have with the resources we have. I can only speak for myself. I think the rest of the committee would speak. I know that at least 3 other individuals who have been involved in making this calendar here. I think we put forth our best faith effort to be as efficient with the resources that we have to create as high leverage, and you never know how it's going to turn out, but you're hopeful the best outcomes for as many individuals as possible, which is what the goal of education is.
I have a couple of comments too. One thing I thought about is in regard to professional development. This comes from an old book, but it's still a good book, about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of those is sharpen the saw. And that means, we know what it means. But in a teacher's school day, you're so limited because they're under contract for X number of hours. We don't have the privilege or the opportunity to help people with professional development and support like other businesses do. School is different. It's just so precious, that time that you have to work with each other. The other thing that went through my mind was when I look at a program or an idea, I like to think, and I put this in, I think, that little newsletter column that I wrote one time, about who does this benefit? And when you look at this, everybody benefits. The teachers benefit, the kids benefit. Everybody benefits from you taking time to be a better teacher. So.
I would piggyback off Nancy, and I can tell you how today was spent for my day. And one was making sure that I've completed the ability to proctor our SAT day, which is a state requirement, which if our staff is not prepared to do that, I'm not able to do that during the day when I'm responsible for students. The training takes longer than my prep period. There simply isn't time for it. The second part of my day was I spent time working with 3 other social studies colleagues to develop a honors 8th grade social studies program to continue to elevate our students. The 2 middle school teachers that we're working with do not have experience with AP courses, and we're trying to help them create bridges for our students leaving the middle school to be successful in AP courses early. And we also spent time developing an AP Euro curriculum, which would be truly the first AP curriculum we have designed to help freshmen and to make that transition in freshmen. There is no other time during the day that you can put the 4 of us together with that collaboration, or, you know, I don't mean to sound silly, but I'm 22 years deep, and the 2 people from middle school that I'm working with have combined 8 years experience. That's the only means that I have the ability to help them. It doesn't just mean we paid for a consultant to come in. It's invaluable the amount of time that I have to offer insight that they can offer back to me. It just simply doesn't exist in a day in which I can't walk out of the classroom with 22 minors on their own. It's
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Do we have any more discussion? All right. I'll look for a motion then to approve item 9.2, the e-learning waiver.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
For discussion.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, so, I mean, I understand the benefit of the waiver, but, you know, I worry about how it's instituted. We have 3 flex days on the very back end of this May calendar are for emergency flex days. If we have to use those, do we really think learning's gonna happen those 3 days? Just curious. What do you think, Dr. Mundy?
I don't know what kind of snow we'll have. I think right now getting that sort of days and have those ready to go, it all depends on whether they the last 3 days or the other days. You're always gonna have a last couple days.
So, I mean, are we gonna institute e-learning if there's a snow day?
I
instead of
don't
using
know
flex
the
days?
answer to that yet, only because it depends on where we go. It depends on what it is, just like we did this year. I mean, our process this year has been the exact same thing. I work with our association to go through. That's what we actually did this morning for a while, to talk about if we get weather on Thursday. Our teachers do a very good job, as they showed wanting to go to school on President's Day, of wanting to be in the classroom whenever possible. So to say that I can answer that without working through our association isn't something I could answer fairly, because as I've mentioned to you, sir, that's one topic I believe they have an integral say in what we do and how we use our days. So I couldn't answer that fairly without them being involved in that conversation, because they are very good at how we decide to do it.
No, I don't disregard the association anyway, but, you know, when we build in flex days in our calendar, I assume as a board member that it's gonna be used as a makeup day.
It depends on how we would use those last 3 days. It depends on how we use PD days. There's a whole lot that'll go into it, sir. So I can't in good faith sit and answer that question directly, especially without working with everybody else.
I think it's challenging to answer that from the association perspective. The guidance that we might provide and give you hypotheticals, because I don't have a full view of the context into which we're speaking to be able to answer that. I think there's timing of when the snow days come. I would also say, as a representation of our faculty members, I personally find it insulting for you to question if we were to use those 3 days at the end for in-person days and extend the calendar to question if our faculty would teach during those days. To be honest, that's demeaning to the
guess the statement on top of that would be, do you think the children would be engaged at that point, not the staff? That's not where that was pointed at. But this is a board discussion at this point. So that was what my statement was.
My children say, my children are in school and my children learn. I say that as a parent, as a teacher. I say that as someone who is in my classroom. I can never guarantee that 100% of the students in my classroom learn because I don't have the ability to control the external factors that impact their day-to-day lives. But I certainly can make my best effort to make sure that they have every opportunity to be able to learn. And beyond that, all I can control is that they have the opportunity to learn.
All right, with that, I think we're gonna move on to a vote. So all those in favor of approving the e-learning waiver, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Any abstaining? All right, motion carries 4-1. Okay, we'll move to item 9.3, curriculum adoption. Valerie, can you just give us a brief synopsis?
So as Rick Davis and I looked at the different classes that we're offering at the high school and the needs, it became apparent that one of our dual credit classes does not have a resource, does not have the textbook. It is a Ivy Tech class, dual credit, so the students need the book that is required by Ivy Tech. So we really just had the one option. Mr. Davis and I reviewed it together. We did have a parent look at it as well. So it has gone in front of a parent that has a current student in the class, so she is familiar with the syllabus. So we just ask for your support so that we can purchase it. We're gonna buy the digital license, so it is just a 1-year contract, so if any issues arise, then we can address them.
Perfect, thank you. All right. Any questions?
Is that a blanket license, whether you have 1 or 100 students, or is it
It's per student.
per student?
So, yep.
Okay.
Anybody else? We'll entertain a motion for item 9.3, curriculum adoption.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second? All right, all those in favor of the curriculum adoption, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion carries 5-0. Item 10, superintendent report.
Sure, we've had a lot of great stuff since last month going on. Basically, first and foremost, and most recent on our mind, congratulations to the girls' basketball team. 2nd year in a row of winning sectionals, and I think as most of you were there, and it was an outstanding game. And I know we look forward to playing 7 o'clock at LaPel on this Saturday night too, to keep going. Also, and I know I mentioned this morning, but I want to make sure we get it out there, the boys have a chance if they win Friday night to be conference champions, outright conference champions. We play at Carroll. I don't believe, as we were talking earlier, it's been a while since we have been outright conference champions. So Friday night's a very big game for our boys team to come in and then get ready for their tournament draw. I do want to thank Kim and Valerie and Matthew for all the work they've been doing lately. I know that tonight happened to be a couple items on the agenda that you guys have spent a lot of time on. I appreciate that, all the work you've been doing, especially as we've been dealing with other items and going forward with that. Full credit too. Today we did CPR, and it wasn't a mandatory, if you will, but we did CPR training for cafeteria staff, custodial, maintenance, and any IA that might be in the cafeteria during lunchtime, and we had a huge turnout for it today. Jason Mayer put all that together. Our local police, local fire department put the CPR training together. It was awesome. I mean, in the fact that to have that extra layer if something would go wrong in the cafeteria, to have a bunch of people there that know CPR and they did a great job. And along that lines, finally, I know I've mentioned it, these guys know, I can't thank our local police chief enough. I know sometimes we don't do outside, but we have been dealing with a long-running issue as well. I'll just leave it at that Mrs. Roberts, I think, has had on her list since the beginning of the school year. And thanks to Chief Stern, we were able to rectify that situation this week.
You mean he can fix the hand dryers?
Maybe that, but he made some very important phone calls is what I'll say. So I want to make sure we publicly recognize Chief
what
Stern for
Valerie's
all
problems.
he did, yes. And that's all I have, sir.
Perfect. We'll move on to item 11, board member comment. Dan?
Oh, you start with me now. So, I appreciate all the discussion tonight. Understand sometimes it doesn't sound like it's supposed to come out right, and I appreciate the hard work you all put into the stuff that we've had My job here is to make sure we vet it. I want to create the best environment for our teachers and our students and for our community. That is my ultimate goal up here. That's why I work here. I just want to make sure we take care of everyone, right? So, you know, take my comments the way they are. More than happy to talk offline if that's more. So, but I also want to say congratulations to, you know, our sports teams too that came through here. Our girls sectional champs go to regionals. The boys had a showing at regionals last week for wrestling. Had 2 of them. They didn't get to advance, but hey, they got there, and that's a tough thing to do. So,
Yeah, thanks, I forgot that one. Yes.
all good. So, look, my goal here is just to create a good environment for our students, our community, for our staff. I just want the best for our community. I know that's all we want is the best for this community, and that's why I ask questions. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's all my comments.
John?
As fun and exciting as everything in the winter is, I think we're all ready for it to warm up. For real, not a 60-degree day here or there, but no, I'll echo everybody's comments. As I sit here, my ears are still ringing. Saturday night was absolutely the loudest I've ever heard our gym, which really speaks to not only the success of our student athletes, but really, really impressed with the community support around those young ladies Saturday night. It was impressive. And of course, our boys are still trending toward a great season, and you know, looking forward to our spring activities. You know, baseball, softball, spring musical coming up. Yeah, just ready for a little more sunshine and a little less parka wearing for sure.
Thank you. Dan, I wanted to thank you too for the discussion because you are bringing forward things that we need to make sure that we are vetting and doing the right thing as we consider those. So thank you for bringing those up. As we were having that discussion, it kind of jogged on my mind that I want to thank the teachers and the staff, not for just what they're doing during the school day, because so much goes on, whether it's an ECA or outside the school day where you are prepping, where you are trying to be the best that you can be. And sometimes it's just, you know, taking a deep breath and walking into that classroom. But we do know that you have a difficult job and appreciate all the work that you do.
Okay. I also will echo the other comments that have already been made, and especially thank the calendar committee and Valerie for the presentations that you did this evening. And I'm so glad you had a good professional development day today. And who could say anything more about those Lady Blackhawks? And remind me the name of our little SRO officer, our lady. SRO.
Kaylee? No,
uh,
Shauna.
Shauna, thank you, yes.
Harrison,
Harrison, Officer Harrison, yes.
She was at the games and I was impressed. I think she's on top of things
So
for
our-
us.
I almost added that tonight too. Our new officers that Chief has hired have done a terrific job. I mean, Officer Street is a wonderful SRO, and he's already mentoring groups. And you're right, ma'am. The new policemen that we've added to SPD have been terrific in being here and active. You know, that's been great too.
I appreciated that. Thank you.
All right. I'll echo the echo of the echo. Girls basketball, John sat with me for about 2 minutes, and I think I ate an entire box of popcorn in the first 2 minutes of the game.
It was closer to 10 minutes, but still. It felt like 2 minutes of game time.
Yeah, and it's a joy to watch their season. Knock on wood, they continue their historic season. We can definitely call it that at this point.
Yes.
Historic 2 years in a row. It's incredible to also see the boys succeed along with the girls. Maybe we can get a couple sectional championships out of our basketball season.
Got a chance.
That'd be great. I also may have heard, though, with wrestling, do we have some ladies going to Small State?
No, I don't know about Small State. I hadn't heard, and actually they were in there practicing, and I didn't want to interrupt. So
I think I heard through the grapevine.
Have you?
We might
Okay.
have a few.
I have not heard directly yet, too,
So-
and I didn't want to interrupt when they were in there today.
I think they were
so.
doing conditioning at 3.
Yes.
today, So, I want to thank you all for everything you do. Running a school is not easy. I don't have to tell that to you guys. And I'd also like to thank Valerie. I don't know what has happened to my kids at the elementary. But on Friday, we got home and they did their e-learning within 5 minutes of walking through the door. They won't clean their room after 5 minutes of me yelling at them, so thank you. And then not to leave it on too depressing of a note, but we did lose
Thank you.
a member of the Blackhawk family, the Sheridan community. So just a reminder to all, Wednesday the 12th, Bob Shock's viewing will be at 2 to 6, and
Mhm.
then when is the
I believe the funeral is right afterwards at 6
funeral's
o'clock.
right
Yes, sir.
So it's a great day to be a Blackhawk and a tough one this week as well. That's all I got. All right, our next meeting will be March 10th, 6:30 in this room, and I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
You go, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
You got what I said?